Hello everybody, welcome to the post-game show. As you can see, the final score is 255-0. I did a complete, absolute domination of Louisville. With 44 first downs, they got 2 first downs. Although one of them, well, they got 2 legit first downs. They got 2 more off of roughing the passer penalties. We had 920 yards of total offense as McNairy Central, compared to negative 235 total yards of offense for Louisville. We had McNairy Central had 45 rushing attempts for 416 yards. Louisville had 58 attempts for negative 248 yards. Yeesh. Now I was going to say 35 for 39 with 15 touchdowns, but for Dylan it says 36 of 41. So 2 passes are unaccounted for, including a touchdown. Now it says 504 passing yards compared to only 13, but yeah. Dylan nearly completed as many passes as Louisville attempted, and had more passing touchdowns than they had yards in general, with only 13 passing yards. And what doesn't help the rushing total is the fact they got sacked 38 times. So when they dropped back to pass, essentially it was a 50-50 shot of them either at least getting the ball out or going down to the turf. Yeah, they won 1 of 27 on third down conversions. Can't win football games, you can't convert on third downs. I went for 4 2-point conversions, mainly because of the fact I got a couple safeties. So that's why 17 attempts in the red zone, 17 touchdowns, 15 turnovers. They fumbled the ball 3 times and lost it. And they got picked off 3 more times after halftime, which isn't all that bad. We got 213 punt return yards and 187 kick return yards. Louisville got 253 kick return yards themselves. So they still managed to keep themselves in the positive total yardage. Meanwhile, our total yards is 1,320. They punted the ball 18 times. I think it was just 8 at halftime. So we forced 10 more punts after halftime. We had 3 roughing the passer penalties. We had 2 roughing the passer penalties and an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. But then again, I chose to take the unsportsmanlike conduct. Time of possession got a little bit closer because Louisville kept wanting to try to run the ball, and we also kept sacking them as well. Yeah, well, Jenkins, 7 of 33 for 13 yards, 8 interceptions, 35 sacks. Although, wait a minute, it said 38, so. Yeah, 38 sacks. So, here's the thing, Chris here only got sacked once. Will got sacked the other 35. Who was sacked the other 2 times. Meanwhile, Dylan maintains an 87% completion percentage. His average went up from 10.6 to 12.3. 16 touchdowns. 36-41 for 507 yards and 16 touchdowns. Louisville for rushing. Reggie Johnson still got those positive yards, but he lost a yard on a run. James Nance had 2 carries for negative 2 yards. Jason Ridgway got a few more carries, and he lost some more yards, so 16 carries for negative 11 yards. And Will Jenkins, 36 attempts. Well, I think Jenkins did try to run on 1 attempt, and I think they tried to do a halfback pass on another. So they're unofficial sacks, I'm guessing. Yeah, 36 attempts for negative 226 yards. Yeah, broke 9 tackles because of the stick, the quarterback avoidance stick. But both Ridgway and Jenkins fumbled the ball. Meanwhile, on the McNairy Central side, Dylan has 17 carries for 157 yards and 4 touchdowns. Excuse me right there. Paul Jones had 9 attempts for 103 yards and a touchdown. Anthony Fox had 12 carries for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Robert Atkinson even got in a bit with 7 attempts for 66 yards and 2 touchdowns himself. Nobody fumbled the ball. And receiving, Jermaine McGee was the only one that got actual positive yardage on the consistency, although that consistency was 1 catch. And Jason Ridgway got 3 catches for a yard and didn't drop a pass. Corey Maxwell had 2 catches, didn't really go anywhere. He regained those yards he lost from the first catch, and he dropped a pass. Reggie Johnson lost a yard receiving, and Louis Henry dropped a pass. Meanwhile, for McNairy for receiving, we had Peyton, who had 17 catches for 283 yards and 9 touchdowns, and 1 dropped pass. Anthony Williams dropped 2 passes, but he also had 2 catches for 6 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I think he's the only other guy with a drop. Yeah. Ken Downing's got 6 catches for 88 yards and a touchdown. Greg Bryant's got 4 catches for 38 yards and 2 touchdowns. Maurice Robinson, our tight end's got 2 catches for 31 yards. Already pointed out Anthony. Paul Jones got 2 catches for 30 yards. Robert Atkinson got a catch for 3 yards and a touchdown. Casey Larkins got a catch for 15 yards and a touchdown. And Mike St. Perot got 1 catch for 13 yards. Yeah, Ben Singleton only allowed 2 sacks along with James Brown. Galvin Chautofi only allowed 1 sack. But Andre Everson allowed 10. John Covington allowed 7. Brandon Wilson allowed 6. Myron Burton allowed 3. Richie Mills, James Brown, and Ben Singleton allowed 2, and Calvin allowed 1. Meanwhile, for McNairy Central, Seth Harris had 15 pancake blocks. Damian Rush had 14. Billy Richard had 13. Ryan Greco had 11. Jesse McCoy had 9. Peyton had 4. Dylan had 3. Mike had 3. Maurice had 3 as well. Greg had 2. Paul had 2. Ty Jones had 2. Anthony Williams had 1. Robert Atkinson had 1. And Ken Downing had 1 as well. Defensively, your player of the game for Louisville, everybody, Dylan Heron with 10 sacks, which is pretty impressive considering the fact that he's the only one that was actually able to get some tackling. Bo Gant deflected a pass, and so did Albert Scott. Oh yeah, Bo Gant, he deflected a pass that was intended for Ken, but got caught by Peyton in the end zone. And those are the only 2 notable pass deflections in the game. But yeah, Dylan Heron had 10 tackles. Timmy Smith had 6. Josh Jackson had 6. Pierre Myers had 5. Bo Gant had 5 with that deflection. Alan Nunez had 4. Albert Scott had 3, along with his pass deflection. Clint Long had 3. Kenneth East had 3. Chris Edwards had 2. Paul Ross had 2. White Casey had 2. George Shelby had 1. Brandon Meyer had 1. Louis Henry had 1. Corey Capers had 1. Maurice Kennedy had 1. Matt Slater had a tackle for a loss. Lucky you. Bobby Dunn had 1. Calvin Totofi had 1. Nick Jones had 1. Brandon Wilson had 1. Well, Jenkins had to tackle himself, and so did Corey Maxwell. Meanwhile, Dwayne Thomas leads the entire game with tackles at 19, 16 of them for a loss, 13 sacks, and he forced a fumble and recorded 2 safeties. Wow, we recorded 4 safeties actually. Excuse me on that. And then you had Brandon Armstrong with 13 tackles, 12 of them for a loss, 11 sacks, and he got a safety. Justin Monroe, 13 tackles, 12 for a loss, 7 sacks, and he forced a fumble as well. Ty Jones had 10 tackles, 6 of them. Oh wait, he had 10 tackles, all of them for a loss, 6 sacks, recovered a fumble for 9 yards, and that was the scoop and score for him. And we got Mike St. Perot down here, who's got 8 tackles, and all those were on special teams. And he forced a fumble too. Now, I'm going to take a minute to actually look at Mike's tackling. Let's see, he's got 95 speed, so he's able to go down the field quick. And his original awareness is 76. Wow. And he's already got 99 agility, 85 catching. He had 40 tackling to begin this. 40 tackling, and what's his strength? And he's got 48 strength. So a guy with 40 tackling and 48 strength got 8 tackles and a forced fumble. Honestly, if I'm the Louisville head coach, I'd go and retire after that. Well, mainly your special teams coach. Because he allowed a wide receiver on special teams to get 8 tackles and a forced fumble. Tyler Whitaker had 4 tackles, and that's the least notable out of everybody here right now. Bob Wally had 3 tackles, including 1 for a loss, which was a sack, 3 interceptions for a total of 67 yards, along with 36, and 3 pick sixes. I think in the game he's originally a quarterback, but with me wanting to have Dylan start, I converted him to middle linebacker, and it seemed to work well for him. Corey Smith had 3 tackles, including 2 for a loss. Josh Hardman's got 2 tackles, including which both of them were losses, and he got a pick, and deflected a pass as well, and recovered a fumble. So Josh was doing a little bit of everything out there. Roger Porter had 2 tackles. Tim White had 2 tackles and 2 picks. Steve Hollins, the freshman, had 1 pick for 11 yards and 2 tackles. Jimmy Folks had 2 tackles and a pick as well. I think his was a pick 6. Yeah, his was a pick 6. Ben had a tackle. Casey Larkins got a tackle. I'm guessing his was a special teams tackle. Oh, and he recovered a fumble as well. Ryan Hairston got a tackle, which was for a loss, and deflecting the pass. Luther Griffin had 2 picks for 7 yards and a tackle. Lincoln got a tackle, which was for a loss, 2 picks, 2 deflected passes, and a touchdown on defense. Kicking, Tyson appeared for only 1 kickoff. Meanwhile, our kicking, Patrick Cox made a 55-yard field goal, just because I wanted to kick a field goal, and 31 extra points. Meanwhile, Peyton kicked off the ball 37 times. Travis Choice, his net punt yards per average went down to 25.7, and we will show you why in a second. Meanwhile, Aaron Tyler had 9 returns for 160 yards. His longest was 23. And Dominique Davis had 2 more returns for 37 yards. Peyton had 4 kickoffs for 180 kick returns for 187 yards, although 3 of them came off of safeties, I believe. And he had 2 returns for touchdowns. Lincoln, on the other hand, he had 5 punt returns and 4 touchdowns. So, yeah. Already not wanting to return kicks to him. And, third quarter started off with that kickoff return for a touchdown, then a pick 6, then the punt return, and then the Miller-McMahon connection that's going to be deadly for all of college football this year. Then there's safety number 1, kickoff return by Peyton, then Miller to Bryan right there, a 9-yard scoop and score. That was the first failed 2-point conversion. And then I actually got the 2-point conversion by letting Patrick run. Then there's another safety right there. Then there's the field goal. 17-yard run touchdown by Atkinson. Wally's third pick 6 of the game right there. 1-yard touchdown run. Another 1-yard touchdown run. Miller-McMahon connection. There's the other safety. Just try to go for the conversion. Then just try to make it divisible by 7. That's just how I am. Then punt return right there. Conversion failed. Miller-McMahon connection again. And then the last touchdown. So technically speaking, the final score should be 258-0. But that's it right there. And hopefully the game will actually save. Okay, the dots popped up, so that's looking a little promising. And it's actually going to save. So I will go ahead and kind of do something that I'm going to do for what's next for each team. And I will see you all in that video.